In today's episode, I want to share with you why, especially when you're first starting off, you do not want to be trying to sound natural or even trying to sound good. And I'll share, in fact, why it actually might be hurting your progress when it comes to learning how to sing. Also, if you feel like you're in this boat and you want to get some solutions, stay right to the end because I'm going to share with you exactly how we can overcome this. Let's go. Real quick, for those of you who do not know me, my name is Ivan. I'm a voice teacher who works with students from all around the world over Zoom. And on this channel, on this show, my goal is to make learning how to sing as simple and as easy as possible because let's face it can be challenging, it can be confusing. So I'm going to break it down in a way that's super easy for you. And so if this is something that is up your lane, make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell notification so you can get access to our episode every Thursday or Friday, depending on where you're joining us from. Also, make sure to check out some of the links in the description. I've got some ways on how we can get your voice to improve even faster through some of my self-study courses and also private lessons with me over Zoom. Today's episode is actually inspired by a lesson I had with one of my students recently. And so what actually happened was I introduced a little new exercise, a new concept for them. And as they were doing it, they told me that it actually didn't feel natural, even though they were doing it right. And I thought this would be a really cool topic to tackle because I know for a lot of us, this is actually something that holds us back when we first start singing. We want to focus on it feeling or sounding natural, or we want it to, sound good. Because when you listen to some of your favorite singers, it just looks and feels so natural for them. But then here is the problem. Maybe some of you have tried doing some vocal exercises, or maybe some of you have tried singing songs. And as you sing it, your intention is like, hey, I just want to keep this natural. I want this to flow. I want this to sound good. And you sing it. But then you go back and you listen to yourself and you're like, hang on. Something sounds weird. It doesn't sound quite right. It doesn't sound quite smooth. And this is a big challenge because yes, you've set the intention of sounding natural, but what has come out or what you hear on the recording is frankly quite different to what you had in your mind. So let's quickly talk about why this is happening. So the first reason here is natural does not always mean sounding good, right? All it does is it reveals your habit. There seems to be this kind of, perception that natural always equals sounding good. But really, when we're saying something feels natural to us, it doesn't actually mean that it sounds good. All it means is I've done it so many times. You can think of it like this. Think of it in the example of walking. A lot of us don't blink twice when we have to walk. It feels natural to us. But go back to your earlier years and you'll notice it was the most awkward thing ever. You'll probably be tripping, you could barely keep your head up. Walking was not natural to us at all. So we've established that natural does not always sound good. All it does is it reveals your habits. But why is this even a problem? The challenge is for a lot of us when we're first learning how to sing, the habits that we've got with our singing aren't serving us. And if anything, they might actually make singing a lot harder for ourselves. For example, what if, every time you try to sing a bit higher, you had to get a bit louder or you had to push a bit more, you had to kind of, strain a bit more to get there. Now, maybe because you've done it so many years in your life, or maybe you've done it for such a long time, it feels natural to you. But that is not the way to go because if you want singing to feel easier, you want to build in the habit of not having to push for volume or push to get to those higher notes. When you do those wrong habits again and again and again and again, they get stickier. They get really sticky. And this is why voice lessons is so important, right? Unbundling some of those habits that don't help you with your singing at all. And this actually brings me to point 2. The second reason why trying to focus on sounding natural or like sounding pretty is not that useful when it comes to improving your voice is when we're trying to improve your voice, it involves a lot of unlearning some of the bad habits and building in some new habits that you're probably not familiar with. And because of that, because you're not familiar, those things will often come to you as an unnatural sound or unnatural coordination. I'll give you an example here. And this is something that I see so many times with my students, and I actually experience this as well. And so what I see a lot of times in our lessons is sometimes we're going through an exercise or going through a song, and when they're singing in a great sound, their voice sounds clear, it sounds full, it's got lots of color and expression, sometimes they'll come back to me and they'll say, hey, Ivan, did that sound nasal? Did that sound nasal? It sounded a bit whiny to myself. And when they lean back onto what sounded natural or sounded good to their own ears, a lot of times they'll find the complete opposite. They'll find the sound that is not supported. It's a bit more breathy, a bit wimpy, and it's not quite strong. And a lot of times they're straining to get there as well. But it sounded good or felt natural to them. And this is a problem, especially for some of you learning on your own. You're relying on your own ear, you're relying on your own sensations. And sometimes those sensations are leading you to the wrong sound. And so those sounds that, feel unnatural to you or they don't sound that good to you, you avoid them. You purposely avoid them. And so that never builds the voice the way that it needs to be built. And so you're probably thinking by now, hey, Ivan, what the heck should I even be focusing on? You're telling me don't sound natural, don't try to sound pretty, don't try to sound good. What should I actually be focusing on? Now, the easiest way is having a second ear. This is something I provide for a lot of my clients, giving them literally this other perspective that, they might not have come across on their own. But let's share a couple of guiding questions here on what you can do, especially when you're doing this on your own for now. So the first guiding question here is, asking yourself as you're working through your exercises or as you're practicing, how easy does it feel for me in terms of effort, in terms of how much strain you're maybe feeling in your throat? How much effort am I using to get to the sound? How much effort am I using to sing the song? Because a lot of times when your coordination is efficient and it feels easy for you to make those sounds or sing those songs, all of a sudden you will sound more natural anyway. Now, the second part of this is I know for a lot of you, sometimes when I say, hey, it should feel easy, it feels, effortless, you completely disengage and then you start singing like full breathy and all that. The second part you got to ask yourself is, am I making the right sounds? Which means, if you're singing a song and the person is singing strong, they're singing powerful and you're going, you're going to sing super, super breathy, right? You got to ask yourself, am I making the right sounds? So these two questions kind of go together, which is, are you making the right sounds for the song? And how easy is it to get there? When you combine these two questions, right, the more you make the right sound, the more easy you make it, you're probably going to head towards that route of sounding natural to someone else anyway. Now, the last one is, I mentioned in point 2, a lot of you are probably going to be avoiding sounds that don't feel or sound natural to you, that maybe don't sound pretty to you. Do this. Use that as a guiding star. And I find this the case to be for my voice. Whenever I, make a sound and I'm like, I actually can't make that sound, or if it feels unnatural, if it feels weird for me, that's where I spend a lot more time trying to drill in, because I find that will unlock a new coordination or unlock another coordination that I can use in my songs. So what sounds are naturally harder for you? Maybe having like a more whiny tone, maybe hitting the high notes, maybe hitting the low notes, maybe singing soft. What is it that's hard for your voice to do? Spend a bit more time there. That's going to give you opportunities for your voice to grow outside of your comfort zone. And so team, that is a wrap. Hopefully you found value out of this episode. And if you did, all I ask is please share this episode with a friend or family so we can spread the learning, spread the message, and so that this community can grow bigger and stronger. It would mean the world to me. I wanted to leave you with a bit of motivation to inspire you to encourage you to keep going on this journey of learning how to sing. And this is actually a win from one of my students, Marlon, who has just graduated from our summit program. And she said this, Ivan, I've learned so much about my voice and how it is possible to learn how to sing. You were so patient and kind to me as you are with all your students. And I always say great things about you and recommend you. I really wanted to share this because all of you are capable of learning how to sing. All of you are capable of becoming better, even if right now you don't believe it. I want to encourage you, keep going. It is so possible for you to build a better voice and to build a voice that you're proud of. And so if improving your voice is something that is important to you, check out the links in the description. I'd love to work with you. I'd love to work with you, whether it be over my self-study course or even working with me privately in my programs. Thanks for joining me on this episode and staying right till the end. I'm Ivan, your voice teacher, and I'll see you for our next episode every Thursday or Friday, depending when you're joining me from. Take care.